Ready?
All right, good evening. It is 6 o'clock. I'm going to call to order the board meeting, the Woodford County Board of Education on December 11th on 2023. We are here at Woodford County High School. For roll call, we have 3 members present, 1 member virtual, and 1 member absent. This time I would like to invite Evan Kinney from the Jazz Band to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you will please stand, the flag is in the back left here behind the band. Okay, thank you. Are there any proposed amendments to the agenda tonight?
I propose that we move from the consent agenda, item D, to the regular agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Again, I think we say this probably every month, but I just feel like when we take the taxpayer dollars to run our meetings and to run our schools, the least we can do is have discussion about the financial reports.
Have some kind of discussion, get a summary of what's happening in the district financially from our CFO.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we will take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion fails 2-2. Next, we will move to the superintendent's report. Mr. Atkins?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for being here, and I look back and I see a lot of smiling faces here with us today. Pretty excited group. Conference champions, am I correct? First time ever for the conference champions? 5th and 6th grade, right? Yeah, that's awesome. So it's great to see you guys, and we certainly look forward to seeing you move on up into our middle school and up into our high school and continue the success that we're having right now. I see a lot of friendly faces back there that have helped build this program and help push with Coach Johnson, push in the right direction to turn it around. And my hat's off to you guys for all the hard work you put in to do that. So thank you very much. With that being said, I want to talk about our cheerleaders as well. We had our cheerleaders performed in 2.5 minute performance where they came runners up in the state, but they also performed in the large game day. So they won that one. So we do have another state champion. We have another group of girls going to nationals in Orlando, and we are so proud of what Coach Tabitha Spears Richards has been able to do and what our girls have done. So we're very proud of you. Friday night, the Masons made their yearly donation, and when I say yearly, from what I can gather, for the last 8 to 10 years, it's been yearly. Last night, Friday night, was a $12,000 donation. Those always go towards our backpack programs, and that's where we help send some backpacks home with food on the weekends for our students. So without that, we wouldn't be able to function as well as we do with our backpack program. So as I said in my Facebook post, they're no longer partners. They are very, very special friends to Woodford County Schools. So my hat's off to the Masons. We've been very... Yeah, $12,000, yeah. I know that Mr. Asher and Ms. Tracy and I were able to get out last week and do some CSIP visits and talk to all of our schools. Had a lot of great work with that. Just saw a lot of good things going on. The data's being addressed, strategies being put in place, so we're excited to see how that's going to move our students forward. So that was great work, great seeing what our principals are thinking. And I invited them at our administrative meeting the last time to kind of open up to each other about that, because every one of them had some great ideas as to how to move students forward. So just very excited to see that. And with that being said, being out in the schools today, I saw a lot of excitement. Everyone's geared up for Christmas, and we're ready for the holiday break. We've got now 6 days and counting, I think. So hang in there, guys, and we'll get there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Atkins. Okay, at this time, Ms. Bailey is going to do our recognition this month, and that is the Woodford County Youth Football Team. I think we're going to call out the names, we're going to send the certificates with the coaches to hand out. That might be the most organized way. But guys, if you guys line up here in front of the tables, you guys can all kind of line through and shake our hands, and then we'll get a picture.
And I do want to say those are the coolest jerseys I've seen yet. I love those jerseys.
Okay, I'm going to tell you which way you're going to come. Okay, you're going to walk right there. Perfect. And just be careful of the wires. Awesome. Brody Cottrell, Brody Fazio, Jacoby Gooseling, Owen Gordon, Rowan Hockey, Hunter Hodge, Hayden Jolly, Tate Jones, Trip Lawson, Osric Masters, Nolan Osborne, Owen Potter, Samuel Radko, Amarion Reed, Jan Rusin, Aiden Sloan, Davis Stakelin, Layton Thompson, Brandon Tompkins Jr., Brooks Tracy, John Varner, Kason Waters, Eli Watts, Cameron Watts, AJ Webster, Sammy Weiss, Jace Wintek, and Trent Williams. Let's hear it for this team. Awesome, and we'll take that group photo real fast and be right back.
Okay, now we are going to welcome the Woodford County High School Jazz Band and Mr. Collins. You guys can get started whenever. Thank you all so much. We could use that kind of energy at all of our meetings. That's awesome. Gets us into the mood. Thank you all very much for taking time. I know it's a busy time of the year, so I appreciate you guys coming out. Okay, we will now have the new high school update from Mr. Ratliff. I'm sorry, I forgot the good news report. Come back in a minute. I'm new at this. This is my first time. Show me some grace, y'all. Okay, so since I skipped the good news report, we'll start with that, and we'll start with Mr. Brumley today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it is officially end of semester, so that's amazing. And all of our school buildings have been working really hard throughout the school year to make it a success. And I have a few shout outs tonight. Mr. Atkins already echoed this, but our cheerleading state champions is a huge deal. They'll go on to compete in Orlando at Disney World in February, I believe, and so we wish them all the best there, and congratulations on yet another state champion, because they were state champions in 2021 to 2022. So congratulations to you all. And additionally, our 8th grade football team and Addie Moore will be representing the Woodford County in the 62nd inaugural parade in Frankfort tomorrow, which is a huge deal and huge honor. We're really thrilled to have them represented there, as Judge Executive James Kay is calling our float the home of champions. And so we're really excited to have them there, and congratulations to both our 8th grade football state champions and our lovely Addie Moore, who just, it blows me away every time. And finally, last but certainly not least, actually two things, not last. Sophie Lester signed with Midway University today. Sophie's one of our golf pros, and we're very excited for her. And finally, last but not certainly not least, thank you to Mr. Collins and Ms. Collins for all they do in the band program. I love the jazz band. All of our band programs do incredible, and they had a very successful semester as well. So go Arts. So thank you all.
Ms. Springate?
I would just say there's a ton of stuff going on in our buildings between now and the holiday break, so hopefully everybody has a chance to get out and enjoy and really celebrate our students and our families and our schools. And I would just wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and hope everyone is safe and germ-free.
Ms. McKellen?
We have a 2017 graduate of Woodford County Schools. His name is D. Depp, and I just wanted to congratulate him because he's been doing so many amazing things in his life since he graduated. But most recently, he had his first children's book written and published. It's called Mr. Man, Mr. Man, and it is available on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. And if you know D, you know what a great young man he is. So I'm just very proud of him. I'm sure this is just the first of what will be many, many amazing achievements for him. So the other thing that I wanted to mention was just a congratulations to our National Board Certified teachers. We had 2 new teachers become board certified, Allison Kiefer and Lindsay Ritchie. And then we had a handful of other teachers to maintain their certifications, and that's Melinda Caldwell, Rick Carr, Kelsey Brewer, Alicia Blevins, and Katie London. So congratulations to all those folks on all their hard work. Thank you, and Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Rickler?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the students that participated in the Christmas parade that was on Main Street not so long ago. It was a little cold, a little rainy, but we had a ton of students that were either representing Woodford County, whether it was sports or other organizations that they're involved in the community. So it was really great to see that. It was an amazing time to see how many students we have involved in different activities. So, and again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody.
Thank you. I just wanted to invite everyone out this Saturday from 9 to 4. Northside Elementary is having a Christmas holiday market. They're going to have 48 vendors, food trucks. There's going to be a silent auction, and even Santa Claus himself, I'm told, is going to be there. So all the proceeds benefit Northside PTO. So I wanted to just invite everybody out. I know everybody has lots of and also just, yes, wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and stay warm and stay hot. We'll have you come up for the new high school report.
Worried about the screen being too far away. We've had another month of great amount of progress. Of course, it's winter time, the weather is changing. but luckily we have a large percentage of the building under roof now, and so I wouldn't say it has no impact, but it's minute compared to months ago. And we'll go through all that in the coming slides. As far as the financials, current total project cost sits at $73,066,931.50. The total construction cost to date is $60,996,915.34. That does include the forthcoming change order number 8 that will be next on the agenda. The total construction cost billed to date through November is $33,055,261.39. That is equivalent to 54% of the total project. So we finally made it over that 50% mark, which is a huge milestone. We've got a year left and a lot to do, but I feel like we're at a really good point on the project. Same substantial completion date. The original was October 1st, 2024. Revised substantial is November 12th, 2024. Original final completion was November 1st, 2024. The revised final completion is December 12th, 2024. Here is your current contingency log. Like I said, this does include the forthcoming change order 8. This is my opinion, of course, but we are at 54% of the total project complete and billed for, and you are still sitting at a 78% remaining contingency. We all always want $0, but I think those numbers are great, and the forecast and outlook on that is looking really good. So I think everybody should be excited about that and looking forward to what the end balance is. Building sequence, same as always. We started in C, migrated to E and F, kind of that switched up a lot of time going at those two at the same time, moving into D, and then A, which of course is the gymnasium, and the B area is the auditorium and storm shelter. There is a November to December side by side. The biggest, there's a lot of changes you can see from that side by side. The biggest is the precast storm shelter. It's a large area that was erected and under the roof in a short amount of time. So, the lead times on those items are long, and it's a very unique structure, but when they start going up, they go up fast. So I'll show you some interior pictures of it shortly.
No.
That I was including a little video for you. It was just a slide showing from March to November. It's some new technology we're using, but we'll do a test run next time. Maybe our IT guy here. So I'll move along and he gets it going. It's not letting me skip the slide.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so here in progress over the past 30 days in Area C, we completed the above slab plumbing, completed the first and second floor wiring, completed sheetrock installation, continued hydraulic piping, completed metal wall panel, started sheetrock finishing, and completed the HVAC sheet metal. Area E started windows, continued hydraulic piping, completed above slab plumbing on the second floor, continued brick veneer, started pipe installation, started duct installation. Area F, completed first floor electrical rough-in, completed interior wall blocking, completed second floor electrical rough-in, completed metal roof decking, continued hydraulic piping, and completed HVAC sheet metal. Area D, installed the stairs, started domestic water piping, completed rafters, continued lightweight insulating concrete roof, completed the Z-furring. Area A, started joisted high roof, completed elevated slabs, completed bearing CMU, started Z-furring, and started exterior spray foam. Area B, completed the precast wall and T installation.
I have a quick question. What do the asterisks stand for?
So what, those are actually left over from, what it means is like, we do that for our own traffic. What it is it means there's like tiny little connections or something to make, but you consider it finished because there's always going to be that things, but it's basically so when we show it finished, our schedule reacts to it appropriately. It's more of a note for us.
Gotcha. I just
Sorry
wondered.
about
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, it's a
No.
carryover from another meeting, but we do that so it's 100% per schedule, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need some fine tuning.
Gotcha.
So I just thought this was neat and a little different than
Oh, no. Everything's the
that's what I
same.
get for trying new things.
I don't think it's you. It's probably our school permissions and things like that or something. No, well, maybe it is you. Sorry.
I clicked on it myself in the slideshow and it worked, but I
There you
don't know how it reacts. Okay, so this is from February of this year to November.
That's super cool.
It's just pretty neat to see, and even now December, there's significant difference. But you can see there was no CMU going vertical, no walls going vertical in February, and here we are early December. Looking at having the entire roof
You can
on
never
the
see it
building
again.
before the end
It's
of the
over.
year. So
Yeah,
just
oh, there.
pretty neat to see it from that view and that way. And your track and field.
In the track and field, yeah.
That flight that's required to do what you're looking at there takes a long time. I do have pictures of the track even now, if you notice the surface is down. So, once the entire roof is on at the end of the month, we'll do another one and that'll, be a big milestone, seeing the whole building under the roof.
Thank you.
So for the 30-day look ahead, items that be started, completed, or will be ongoing for the next 30 days are in Area C, plan to complete the drywall finishing, start drywall prime and paint, start voice and data, complete stair handrail, start tile, start complete gas piping, and complete domestic water piping. In Area E, complete the brick, it actually should be complete by the end of this week. Complete window install, complete duct work for the high pressure units, start gas piping, continue CMU, start sheet rock installation, complete hydraulic piping hookups to high pressure units, continue first floor wiring, start second floor wiring, complete stair handrail, start metal wall panels, and start tile. Area F, start roof, start windows, complete drying at the gable roof, start the first floor wiring, start gas piping, complete above slab plumbing, and start the sprinkler rough-in. Area D, complete the bar joist and decking, complete lightweight insulating concrete, start wood blocking, start sprinkler rough-in, complete drying at the gable roof, and complete exterior spray foam. Area A, pipe the switchgear units, complete bar joist and decking, start the PVC roof, that's the high roof above the gymnasium. Continue MEP rough-in, complete spray foam, complete Z-furring. Area B, storm shelter and auditorium, will be complete the bar joist and decking, start the spray foam, complete the topping slab, complete lightweight insulated concrete, and complete under slab MEPs. Here's a side-by-side comparison from last month from the east side. There's a northeast view. If anybody has, I don't want to ramble on, but if anybody has questions about anything you're seeing, just stop. Northwest.
I will say, I like that. I like the format that you had the past 30 days in the future, like the grid of each, instead of the long list, it makes it easier to get a feel for each area. So I like that you changed that up.
We get kind of used to talking to each other and contractors on site, but for presentation purposes, I know that makes way more sense.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
It's a forever fluid document, so if
Mhm.
you think you all will see change, let me know. Westview, something I'm sure everybody's noticing driving by is now you're starting to see the brick come around the building. You can see kind of the window frames already in the bricked area, so those will finish up and glass them in the next couple of weeks. The large windows are just temporary barriers right now, plastic, basically just to keep the wind from sweeping through there like it does. So. There's the greenhouse and exterior view and interior. Here's some photos from Area C, just showing you the gyp walls are installed and the finishing is started. Area E, it's just an electrical room, a lot of electrical panels being installed. And then the second floor restroom, setting frames, finishing up the plumbing, rough ends, stud walls, CMU walls. Lots going on in that small picture there, a little distorted. So, Area C, like I mentioned at the last meeting, a large majority of the work ongoing is above ceiling MEPs, and as you can see from that, that's through every inch of the building. So it's a lot of work that goes in before ceilings can ever start going in this building. And then Area F, that's underneath your big gabled roof up front, across from the middle school, and the ceiling framing is installed. Here's a view inside the storm shelter. Pretty plain, boring right now, but still kind of neat to see those large planes, how they go up and the erection and the roof. Here's Area D, just showing all the block filler, which is the first coat of paint essentially that goes on all the block walls. That's it for phase 1. Any questions about phase 1? Phase 2, total project cost $4,504,760. Total construction cost to date is $3,656,408.99. Total construction cost billed to date is $1,631,408.12. That is 44% of the contract billed for. The original substantial completion date was March 15th of 24. The revised is currently May 15th of 24. No change to your contingency log since the last meeting. Still setting at 45% remaining, which is $308,888.41.
I was going to make a real quick statement. I had some people reach out to me when they hear phases. And so just to be clear, it's not that phase 1 and phase 2 are happening at different times. It's phase 2 is actually going to be done before phase 1. They're happening simultaneously. So I just wanted to clear that up because I did have some people thought that everything was happening in what we would think of as a phase, later on type thing. So I just wanted to clear that.
We can just call it track and field from now on.
Honestly, that would probably be easier. I mean,
might.
really,
Yeah.
and just label it the way you label it so we all know that we're talking about. But I do think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
More user-friendly.
Oh, that looks
Biggest change, of course, is the turf is finishing up, and then, of course, the surface. That's what's popping out. So that's where we'll leave it until the winter, as far as the asphalt, until winter's over, and then in spring they'll put down the the surface coat and all the striping and finishing of it. We want good weather for that work to go on, and there's time in the spring to get it done. So no point to rush that and sacrifice any quality. 30-day progress, completed the field choker stone, laser graded the field choker stone, installed sidewalk at the track, completed concrete track fence band, completed stone placement at the track, completed the asphalt base at the track, performed filled stone infiltration test, and installed interior manhole rings and lids. 30-day look ahead, continue site grading, continue concrete pavement, complete artificial turf placement, and begin the sanitary sewer extension from phase 1 to 2. Here is a slimmed down version of an updated schedule, and we are still on track, still floating on the October 22nd substantial completion date. So still roughly 9 days ahead of the contractual end date. I do look, once we start, once the roof goes on and stuff starts shifting, this will start actively changing more. But so far, there are no concerns as far as hitting that date. So I hope to keep improving. We're always shooting for early. Any questions?
I don't. Thank you so much for that. Anybody else have any questions? Do you want to walk us through the change order real
Yeah.
quick?
So it's a combination of 12 PRs, and I'll run through each one with a brief description. And if y'all, I don't know what you all have had time to look at, what you haven't. PR 22 is a revised 8-inch CMU wall and vestibule to 6-inch gyp wall. Type 2 provides spandrel glass and additional horizontal frame over its storefront. There's revised ceiling height at vestibule. The reason behind that is trying to fit a lot of items into a small area. And the correction, the most feasible correction was to lower the ceiling height in that vestibule to give room for all the above ceiling MEPs to pass through there with no issues. Really minor change that solves a lot of problems is the way I would look at that one. That was a total of $5,052. Trolley hoist, PR 25, there was some hoist beams that are located at all the mechanical platforms that were not defined on the structural drawings. They were mentioned, but there was no real information or detail provided. So that was an additional cost to add those trolley hoists. That was an addition of $12,540.65. Plaster traps, this would be an RTA thing, but my understanding was that there was double ups between mechanical and on some items, and they wanted the plaster traps and laboratory equipment to be provided by the kitchen equipment contractor. So that was a deduct. That's a great thing when that happens. So that was a deduct of $4,924. PR 27 auditorium aisle lighting. If I remember correctly on that one, the auditorium walls that are running along the seating showed lighting strips, but the seats have lighting, so it was another double up situation. So it's a great thing when those are caught, because you're essentially double paying for something you shouldn't do. So that's a deduct of $641.78. Steel column at the mechanical platform 301. That one was, it required that this platform, I believe it was it required, so there was a lot of openings in that mechanical platform, and they had to provide an additional column for structural support. Wouldn't say something was missed on that, just it took more than expected in the way the openings, on paper is one thing and in real life's another. So that's one of the items, it's gotta happen, you know, for structural support. So $2,564.65 was the total cost. Replacement of mulch to stone, that is changing the hardwood mulch to stone for the landscaping. And that was $4,011.20. This one is a mixture of, some of it was power shown in areas that didn't need to be, and then some of it was adding receptacles and relocation of the GFCI. There was a flagpole light fixture, S8 on the drawings at the parking lot entrance that wasn't needed. There's not a flagpole there. So the total cost of that one was $1,195.94. Yard 31 is a culinary chase. This is basically the gas was running under the slab to the culinary chase, to the culinary area, and through some changes with the design team, it was better to create a stainless steel chase, and fortunately there's money savings in that. It's very expensive to run gas line under, and there's also Columbia Gas was involved in that as well, as far as what they wanted. At a certain point in the project, we always meet with Columbia Gas and go through those fine details, and this is kind of what came from it. Again, another good thing, it's savings to you. So $932 savings was the total. PR 32 is casework adjustments, removed casework in the science and engineering classrooms, and there was some additional casework requested in the records room 179. This is the big ticket item here. That was a savings of $85,658. PR 33.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what that is.
Yeah.
I don't understand what casework is and why it would be removed
Okay,
or
so
added.
it's like cabinetry and countertops. Honestly, right. I don't know who requested.
It was designed, the computer lab was designed for desktop computers. And when Josh and I and Mr. Smith had a chance to look at that, we don't plan on stocking that with desktops. What we didn't need was a cabinetry court to sit on. We needed tables that would allow us to be more flexible in the classroom. The science and engineering classrooms, those tables looked like and this is not a reflection on anyone, but it looked like my 1989 biology lab. So what we wanted to see was a little more up-to-date tables, a little more design about them instead of just the old blacktop tables and that cabinetry work. So what we were shooting for are tables that would have storage along with them, along the sides, toolboxes, more things that look like a modern classroom now, that would be used more as a modern classroom. Does that pretty much sum it up, Josh? Yeah.
So were the science and engineering teachers on board with that? Were they
We didn't ask
consulted? Did they? Do you think maybe we should ask them just to make sure it has enough storage and different things for how they actually utilize their rooms?
I think we're pretty close to having a completed building at this point. I don't know that we start pulling a lot of other people in again.
It's on here as a change order, and the reason I ask is because as a teacher, if I'm thinking I'm getting certain storage and certain materials and certain desks, and then for it to change without any kind of notice or consultation or discussion, just as a board member, I'm interested in hearing from the folks that are going to be using that room day in and day out about what they see as the need and how they utilize the classroom and, you know, what their needs are as far as storage and those kinds of things.
I want to clarify something that does say science and engineering classrooms, but wasn't necessarily the science classrooms. This is more of the engineering classroom. We did take one classroom, turn more into a workroom, which we did remove some of those science. The classrooms are still the same. We actually still have more than one science classroom than we currently have. We redistributed some of those classrooms that were called science classrooms to to accommodate for this. So as far as the science goes, that wasn't the case. We did meet with the engineering teacher prior to this meeting to discuss the design of that room. The media room that is also being talked about, that teacher is retiring. We do not have a media teacher, or is planning to retire, I should say, prior to the opening of this building. We don't have a media teacher to consult. So we had to make the best choice for us based off of our plans in the future for this building.
Yeah, and with turnover in staff, I mean, it's just hard to build a building around certain staff members. I mean, we just have to build a building.
So this includes the media center or library also, and the
No.
computer rooms, or just science and engineering like it says?
That or the PR itself in order, it's a list of items.
But it sounds like it's more just replacing fixed cabinetry and fixed desks than and having a more mobile workspace.
It's more of
and,
a flexible workspace.
Yeah,
Than
right.
things attached to the wall.
and it
That
sounds
can
like
be moved
you
around.
did cover it with the engineering teacher, which I think was Ms. Springate's concern, which makes sense. So
She's new too, by the way. Am I correct, Josh?
I think
Very-
to Miss Springate's point, I think it's important, but there are a lot of teachers at the high school, even though we have turnover from time to time, there have been some stable, leadership there. So I do think it's important that even when it's a change order or something like that, that we make sure to review those things with them, and make sure that it's something that they're going to be able to use, or that, that they don't have any issues with. I think that communication is important throughout a project like this.
PR 33, alternate elevation CC. That was some change from removal of soffits in the cafeteria, additional drop ceiling at the cafeteria, which required some removal of CMU above that elevation in the cafeteria, and then switched to metal studs. Most of this again is related to above ceiling MEPs. It was added and subtract, so it was just a no cost change to the contract. It was a wash. PR 34 is the cafeteria soffit. Same thing, provide pricing for soffit to conceal mechanical ducts of cafeteria. That was adding the soffit. There was not taking away anything in order to conceal a piece of ductwork running through the cafeteria. So that was an add of $9,800. PR 36, evac chair storage. They removed the first and second floor walls and soffit at the evac chair storage and provided full height lockable storage cabinets. That was a cost savings for that change of $382. So that is all 12 PRs, which comes out to be a combined total deduct of $57,373.34 that goes back into the contingency.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve change order number 8 for the new WCHS project?
so moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay. And if I could just explain, I like having the savings, but I am going to vote nay because I do feel like it's very important for our administration to be talking with our staff about their needs and what they require in a classroom. So I just want to explain. Thank you.
Motion passes 3-1. And thank you, Mr. Ratliff. Anybody have any other questions for him? Thank you very
Thank
much.
you all. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too, thank you. Okay, moving on to item F, we have the WCHS presentation, and Mr. Reed is here to present. Welcome.
Thank you all. As Justice that pulled up, it's
exciting to be a part of these meetings, and I think as we look at those pictures of the new school, it's not lost on me the opportunity I have to lead a staff and a student body and the community into a new building and kind of establish what the community might look like for years to come. So that's really exciting to see those pictures that Clay pulled up. And I think back in March, I was kind of going through the interview process, and now I drove past this morning and we have walls and it's being rigged. And we're having conversations about how we move staff in and how we assign staff and how we utilize that space for teaching. So it's a really awesome opportunity to be a part of that. And I thank you all for that opportunity. I know this is my first time getting to kind of go over what we're doing here at the high school since I've taken over. It's hard to believe that it's kind of already been a semester. The time just kind of goes by really quickly. As we dive in, let's see if I can work this. Right. I'll kind of, can you get me back, Josh? Sorry. As we came in as a new staff, we did build kind of a lot of adversity and a lot of turnover here at the high school. It excited me to kind of evaluate where we were with the thought of all the great things that were still happening at Woodford County High School and within the community, both academically, athletically, within the arts, while kind of trying to find who we were and establish that. So we took time over the summer to really work with our staff, had some pretty intensive leadership meetings to kind of see where they were, what direction they wanted to go in, how that meshed with the vision that kind of our new admin, our new counseling staff, our new teachers were bringing in, and establish some overarching goals to kind of set some foundation as we move into that new building that we just talked about. So we established 3 big rocks to look at, so I'll kind of go over those, give you some insight on what those big rocks were, and then how we have kind of worked over the past semester to work towards establishing those big rocks. The first was refining expectations. We kind of knew what Woodford County stood for. The gold standard was a big aspect that stood out as we talked to staff. That gold standard committee, we really wanted to establish those expectations for our students, but also our staff as well, and have that guiding vision as we move forward. So the first thing we did is kind of rebranded what our gold standard looked like. The staff did a lot of work last spring to get this off the ground. So we put banners throughout the school. We recommunicated this with our teachers. We worked with our students to communicate that, and we've done some Parent Square blasts over to really hammer in on what each of those standards mean and how they are displayed within our classroom setting. Again, communicating those school standards was a big aspect of this. Consistent application of those norms was something that we really saw we needed to step up and work with the admin team. And we kind of outlined and mapped how we as a team can have a collective vision, and each decision that we make, we're kind of doing it through a consistent lens, so that all our stakeholders kind of know what to expect and know what's coming here at Woodford County High School moving forward. We're in the process of developing a school-wide incentive program. Our site base has established an ad hoc committee that's really focused in on rewarding our students for great effort and really focused on those school accountability measures. So we're excited to see where that takes our staff and our school and be able to roll that out for our students, especially as we get closer to the end of the year with KSA testing, and really motivate our student body there. And then supporting our special populations has been a huge focus of mine. Being a special education teacher before I got into administration, that's kind of the student group that I kind of always gravitate to. We have a great team lead within our special ed department that we brought in, Ms. Sabrina Miller. She's doing a great job of working with our both core teachers and our special education staff on what special design instruction is, how we are accommodating those students. But that also goes to our ELL group. I'm learning a lot within that. I had a great meeting with Mr. Asher and Ms. Moffitt today on how we really focus in on that subgroup of students as well. So really getting a lot of support for our special population, what that means for our staff, how we work with those students each and every day. As we look at Big Rock 2, it's really reigniting that academic focus. Again, great things were happening here at Woodford County High School, just as they are across Woodford County. But we really wanted to dive into being data-driven decision makers here at the high school. So we implemented this 5-pronged PLC process that kind of circles us around. We'll focus on our PLCs, development of data, but then how are we intervening with students on a daily basis. We have great structures here in place with our HIDE program. It's just how we are utilizing that. So as a quick overview, our staff are still meeting within content-specific PLCs on a weekly basis. They're setting their scope and sequence of curriculum. They're forming common assessments. They're determining how they're going to assess students and what that success criteria is. Again, hopefully giving that consistent vision across our curriculum outlook. Our teachers then go teach those lessons, provide that assessment, and then we meet on a bi-weekly basis within our departments. And this is facilitated with an assistant principal or whoever their evaluating principal is. My groups are special ed and CTE this year. So we kind of dive into those department meetings and we just ask them to evaluate kind of their assessment data. And then we help them plan those interventions on a weekly basis. So that way we have targeted tier 1 interventions for our students. We're kind of being able to intervene and get them to that success criteria, and hopefully that provides the instruction and not just kind of the opportunity for retakes over and over. As we build this process, we're really focused on kind of those tier 2 interventions and how we are identifying those underlying deficits for students. Math is doing a great job of this right now with some really focused ACT work. They're pulling about 150 students a day that they've identified that are within that borderline range to really provide them some kind of focused support within that target area. And then our last focus was reinvesting in unity. And really, as I came to this, it was, again, solidifying that shared vision of what Woodford County High School is. As I started to talk to groups, we were kind of making decisions within our silos and kind of advocating for what was best for us. That was no fault of anybody own. I think as we did with diversity, sometimes we kind of fall into that survival mode. And I'm willing to be open and share that. But we had some really structured leadership meetings this year, hopefully trying to move our department chairs to that kind of balcony vision. Is kind of what I described. So sometimes we get caught up on that dance floor moving our own way. When we get up into that balcony, we kind of see the whole picture and see how the decisions may help the whole. I kind of skipped over one of the most important, celebrating where kids win, is a part of this too. We've really worked on investing in our social media push, celebrating our wins. We have a state championship cheerleading team now, a state champion cross country. Our marching band did great things. Our basketball team currently only has one loss against the number 3 team in the state by 1 point. So some exciting things happening, and we're really working hard to celebrate those things and make sure our students and our staff are reminded of the great things that are happening each and every day here at Woodford County. And then growing positivity is just kind of something I added there. Sometimes as we kind of get into the trudge of the day and the year, especially as we get in this time of the year, kind of that middle point, it's easy to get focused on kind of the barriers. And so I kind of try to always push towards positive intent. We're all stakeholders with a common goal, which is to impact the students of Woodford County High School, or Woodford County, and we're all bringing our best to the table, and as we keep that in mind, that's when great things happen for kids. So the last thing, just kind of share with you some upcoming events we have over the next, over the month of December. Of course, orchestra is playing tonight at the church, at Rochelle Baptist Church, band concert tomorrow at the middle school. We've got a home basketball game on the 12th and the 15th. We've got a big push for our FAFSA night, trying to get our students in, filling that FAFSA out on the 14th. Band and choir participating in the Christmas stroll on the 16th. We have WCI Wrestling Invitational over Christmas break. Fall finals are coming up. Out of order. We've got our winter assembly kind of on our last day of school. I'm excited to see that tradition in action. And then, of course, Jacket Fest coming up. And one thing we're really trying to push, which is on the bottom here, February 1st, is a curriculum fair. We really want to get our CTE teachers, our elective teachers out to try to show not only students but parents what's happening at Woodford County High School. So kind of have some hands-on demonstrations, hopefully is our goal there, and really see what some of our pathways and our electives are about, what AP really means, what a dual credit opportunity really is. So that's something that we're trying to put together and make a big push. So that's what I've got, and kind of the update here with the high school. Happy to answer any questions like that.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Reed? Any comments?
I don't have any questions, but I will say, it looks like you have got just tons and tons of really great things going on here at the high school, and I do appreciate that. So thank you. Please let your staff know how much we appreciate them. They do a wonderful, wonderful job.
They do. We're blessed with a great staff and a great student body. We know Connor displays every role, but again, it's not lost on the opportunity I have to be a part of. So I appreciate it for that opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your first meeting
Yeah.
presenting to us. Did a great job. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing all that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say that you came in, you set expectations. I think that some of those things were in dire need. You've done a great job with that. You've got a great team, administrative team. I know Ms. Best is really a pusher, and you got Mr. O'Brien with you, Mr. Mattingly. I mean, you've got a great team. So I appreciate what you guys do over here at the high school with our kids. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, moving on, we'll have the instructional equity report with Mr. Asher.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Josh pulls up my presentation. 75th day of the instructional calendar, so we've been right along. When I last spoke to you in November meeting, did the accountability update, and the next step from that was, of course, the CDIP update and also CSIPs and how those are moving along at the school level. Last week, I believe it was, sent you a draft of the CDIP and where it stands now. But I'm going to take you through a little bit more in-depth presentation today. When I left off from the accountability update, I said this is the next steps that we are taking, and here's the approach to it. You heard Mr. Reed mention big rocks, and how those would be, that's the terminology we use for our action planning, for our initiatives and our focuses. So you don't want to leave those, but you revisit those. You add that to what your data is telling you, and the analysis, and what you're going to do with it. And ultimately that results in your CDIP at the district level, CSIP at school level. So since that time, we've been going through our processes. We stick to this analysis, review, analysis, and application process going on at both the district and school level. And as Mr. Atkins mentioned in his opening, we did do CSIP reviews with each principal, myself, Mr. Atkins, Ms. Tracy, going through to look at their draft. The purpose of that was just to be collaborative and also to have a better idea of what the school felt they need to focus on, and that it wouldn't be a direct match to CDIP, but certainly they would fit together and complement each other. And a reminder of what the CDIP is, which are required to have as part of those. So KDE outlines you have to have these 7 district goals, and you'll see they all align with our accountability system. So oftentimes folks may have things confused that you're not going to put construction items or other things that they go towards the accountability system in our state. And so those align, as I was mentioning, those areas. You're also required a specific template that you follow, and again, you see the draft of that, to where you establish a long-range goal, yearly objectives, strategies, which come from a list what are called Kentucky's E-Core work processes. So those are kind of categories to where you're going to then put in activities, measure of success of what you expect that to look like, how you're going to monitor it, and how you're going to fund it. All right, I'm going to move through here, and there are a lot of words and descriptions on these. So we're going to focus in on the objectives and then the activities. And then just kind of to help your eyes follow and mine, put some icons to each of these that represent a little bit more of what I'm talking about. So under the area of our first goal is in reading and math, and you'll see the objective there, which addresses all levels that take the reading assessment. And our objectives are based on what we call our universal screeners. So we're using our iReady, our Match Review Predictive Assessment, and CERT to track our progress. First activity there is actually a process, that's came from legislation, the Read to Succeed Act. So last year, that's what prompted our move to iReady, is because you had to examine your assessment, what you were using there. This year now, we will be selecting a common comprehensive K-5 reading program. So I have a team going through that now, made up of our reading specialists at each elementary. We will eventually branch out, once we whittle it down to the top 2 or 3, we'll then involve our teacher teams in that, in making that selection for next year, to be followed with professional development, of course. Certainly want to have a preview at minimum of what they are to expect before we even leave this school year, so they're not getting that, in late July and expected to implement in August. So that will be a big ticket item, approximately $150,000 as you see there. That level of resources, K-5 across the district, will be pricey. The next 2 focus on our PLC. You heard Mr. Reed mention that, as you will for many schools, that is their big rock. Kind of taking our next steps to this training has gone back all the way back to June. We've been working with Solution Tree. Now it's taking it, the emphasis is taking what goes on within that PLC meeting and now matching that, making sure that the instruction matches up to that. And furthermore, that the standards, the rigor of the standards is a big push for us right now. And we've got some strategies planned for January when we come back. And then finally, the last 2 on this page refer to those assessment systems that I mentioned and the use of those to progress monitor all students moving forward. Second page of this has reading. We are going to continue. We had a very successful implementation of this last summer, and bits and pieces of it continue through the school year when the Kentucky Equity-Based Tutoring Program. So that was that partnership with Pearson that I mentioned, where they had supplied tutors, they had supplied the intervention resources, the assessment, so on and so forth. But we certainly are going to continue that partnership. It's been very beneficial to both sides, and they continue to treat us very well and provide tangible resources, provide training. So we certainly are going to continue that. And just the icon there represents our 3 tiers of support. So when we're talking about that tutoring program like that, we're certainly in tier 2 and tier 3 support. Moving on to the math objective, you'll see the percentage there of what we're aiming for. And a lot of these activities are going to be repetitive because they apply to both reading and math areas. So again, the next steps in PLC and providing that coaching and ongoing support. The tutoring is not limited to literacy, it also addresses math. And then on the final strategies here, also with our assessment systems, iReady and Mastery Review, predictive assessment. The next category for goal are those other assessments, science, social studies, and writing. In this, we've chosen to identify social studies. The reason for that is we do need that improvement is needed in that area, but it's also our curriculum review cycle for social studies. If you recall, last year was science, and I'll elaborate on that in just a minute. This year is social studies, so it makes sense that is a focus to go through this process once again with a district-wide social studies team. And then also, and this is a new addition from what we've had in the past with MBPA, heading to that end of the year assessment.
I have a quick question. Do you
Yes.
prefer us to wait till the end?
No, go ahead, if you better.
I wondered with the objective percentages, they seem so low on math, on English, reading, and now we're on this one. And, for instance, our objective, our goal is to get to 35% of our 7th graders being proficient. So that means that 65% would be novice or apprentice.
Or apprentice level. You'll see apprentice levels across the state are very high on that science assessment. Let me explain that these objectives were set really through 3 things. Looking at your current status and where you're at, how that's trended, how that has trended. There are also within the school report card, there are state averages, so those are taken into consideration. And finally, there is a tool called Progress Towards State Goals within the school report card that took your data point, I think it was at the 18-19 school year, and plots that out. So when we set these goals, we want to make them realistic and achievable, but yet an increase. So you will find, and when you'll see a lot more of this, particularly in January, when we I go through those state averages. I wish I knew that off the top of my head, but the apprentice level across the state is very high. It is a difficult assessment. That was the second year taking that? Is that right? Yes, second year for that particular format. So those are not haphazardly set or arbitrarily set. There's some thought and a process to that.
And then by May of 2025, that's supposed to go up by 20 percentage points.
That's our goal, yes.
So how many percentage points is 35%? How much is that up from?
I don't know which one are you talking about?
Just the science. You have 35% in grade 7 to be proficient, just proficient or distinguished in science.
Mm-hmm.
And then for 2024, and then for 2025, you have it up to hopefully 55%.
Correct.
So where did you go? What was it before? Like what's your benchmark for the 35? Was it 10% that are proficient and distinguished now, and we're going to go up to 35, or was it 30 are proficient and distinguished now, and we're going to go up to 35? What's our base?
I don't know what that was. You mean just this past year, 23?
Yeah.
I don't have that off
But
the
it
top
was-
of my head, but I can certainly.
So it was something under 35, and then we're going to go up to 35, and then we're thinking we're going to go up to maybe 55. So I just kind of
Correct.
wondered if we were, if it's realistic to say, well, we're planning on going up 2% this year, and then next year we're going to go up 52%. Do you know what I
It's
mean?
larger than a 2%.
Okay, so I just wanted to check on that. And then the other thing is, on a couple of slides, the last couple of slides, we have probably about $100,000 that we think we're going to maybe be able to fund from ESSER. How much do we have in the ESSER funds? Do we have?
That actually was already, it's already encumbered. That's the cost for the solution tree that I mentioned. We've had a 2-day training for solution tree back in June. We've had them back for 2 days of coaching that occurred in October, and then we'll have them back for 1 more day in January.
Okay,
that's
so
already
those
been
funds
encumbered.
were available and
Yes.
did come from ESSER. Okay, I just wondered, because I know sometimes if we say it'll come from ESSER and then ESSER is depleted, then we have to, of course, use general fund or some other source.
Already encumbered.
Thank you.
All spent except for that last coaching. With science, into the activities then. Part of that curriculum review cycle was a selection of curriculum, so implementing Amplify Science it is called. We've had that at the kindergarten level for a couple of years now, but now we're moving into the middle school. They actually are piloting several units of that in this second semester, so we're going to continue with that. And then similar to the assessment piece of social studies, we also have that for science in 7th grade. Achievement gap is the next. You'll see several objectives with disability IEP, English language learners, and then economically disadvantaged. These structures right here, this activity here talks about those processes, to drill down, as I spoke last month, about subgroups and include systematic problem solving to address those. This will be supported not only through the MTSS process, but also our equity review process that we have going. This is an equity action plan activity that we've had for 2 years running and continue to emphasize that. So it will be monitored through a couple of different strategies there. And then doing a better job of tracking, and I'll say this was prompted by a different level of tracking, I'll say. This was prompted by a TSI status at the high school level. And to be honest, it took us a while to figure out why that was. So numerous communications with the accountability office at KDE, and even today, I was still communicating with them to fully understand this. Because I'll be honest, there's a lot of math that goes into it. When you have to have 30 students in a given category to earn this indicator, that indicator, and I'll explain this in full detail at our January meeting. But we wanted to do a better job of tracking and knowing ahead of time, particularly in these the novice through distinguished levels. We've got that, but there are some more complicated things to understand, particularly when it comes to these subgroups here. So we put tracking tools in place for both our EL category and our special ed for that matter. We're developing that, just met with the high school team the other day to do that. Are there any, I'll stop there. Any questions on achievement yet? Next category, English learner progress. A couple of these are continued from last year because we did have very good success in this area, so we want to keep that going. You'll see the objectives there for each of the 3 levels. One example of continuing was a commitment to Elevation. That is a online platform which provides instructional strategies and supports for students. So we want to continue with that. Another successful strategy last year, activity I should say, was just individual goal setting for ELL students related to their access assessment that they take in their English proficiency exam. And then that same sort of process that I mentioned with Achievement Gap, also applying that to EL progress and how that relates to access scores.
Oh,
I
did you
did.
go back?
Yes. Yeah.
You go ahead. I was
Yeah.
looking at something.
Well, I did want to mention, because I know we've talked about there's some room for improvement in certain areas that we've decreased over last year, but this one had a pretty significant increase.
Yes.
And so I did want to point that out and kind of give a shout out to all the EL teachers and the staff that focus on that, because for that to be the category that jumped the most, I think is really a testament to what they're doing in that group. So just wanted to make sure we focus on the good as well as the
Absolutely.
areas of improvement.
Yeah, what is the, it's just my ignorance, I just don't know. When it says we're gonna try to reach a score of 70 for objective 1, what is, can you put that in context? What does that mean?
I'll try. I said there's a lot of math involved.
Yeah, I don't understand.
That table down here, you see that?
Uh-huh.
So on the left-hand side, that would, of the left-hand column, the far left, that would be, so let's say you have a student that scored a 3.1 on their access exam back in winter of 23. If they moved up from a 3.1, I said, or let's say they got to a 4, they would get 60 points.
Okay, so it's a points kind of
It's
thing.
points per student, and then you take, if you had 30 students tested, you add that up, divide by 30 to ultimately give you an indicator number.
Okay,
Okay?
so we're gonna try to, by May, reach a score of 70.
Correct.
Why does it say by 2025, reach a
Because we
score of
did better than
65?
expected. So these are long-range goals. The goals at the top were not set this current year. We've
Right.
left those on there.
Okay,
But we
okay.
got it in 2022, so we set those as three, as
So
it
we've
describes.
exceeded.
We've exceeded to
Okay.
this point at the elementary level.
Okay,
So
that makes sense.
our objective now is really to maintain, at elementary specifically, we got room for growth at secondary.
Right.
But yeah, we surpassed the 3-year goal, just in 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
The next one, quality of school climate and safety. Remember, this number, it has an indicator as well, is based on that survey that students take. This is a continued activity, just our continued commitment and growth on PBIS structures. So there are several things. Ms. Amy Oates does a fantastic job of working with those. This has been a big step for our district, I believe, as far as identifying school leads and having those quarterly meetings. It's a method of PLC in of itself and the collaboration that happens there. Recently sent a group to the national conference, myself included, back in October to bring back more ideas and just gain perspective that we're doing a really good job in this area, I must say. When you go and you talk to folks from Arizona, New Mexico, and Florida, what have you, all the same challenges, but as far as a lot of the structures and progress we made in this area, doing really well.
Are the dates okay
Go
on
ahead.
that one?
Wait.
By May of 2023?
Nope, that's not. That should say 24.
And then up above 2025?
You are correct. Yep. That's why it's in draft form. I will correct that. The next one, this is another tie-in to our equity plan, and you've heard me mention this several times, trying to build the capacity at school level for our equity teams. great strides in this area. There's a lot of interest at the school level and having school level leads with those equity teams. So looking forward to continuing that work with them. Post-secondary readiness. So now, of course, this is just a high school level goal area and strategies. So I've worked with a number of entities to put this into place. A couple of things relate to college and career readiness. If you remember, I'll start this off. Another monitoring system of tracking students' progress towards post-secondary readiness. So that involves several things, making sure that they've met the academic readiness as far as ACT or the career readiness in terms of their pathway and completion of that. I will say that we're doing a very good job as far as post-secondary readiness, so this is another area where we need to maintain. We feel that strategy will help. This year, if you recall, at the middle of last year, we created, using the LAVET money, a career readiness coordinator to help with that monitoring process, but also to extend to all levels. We're involved in some collaboratives right now of really taking a K through 12 look at career readiness. So I'm excited about that work. The next one is improvement of this has been on here a couple of years, and we think we finally have the right platform and the right plan. We're going to tie in the portrait of learning language and call it portrait planning. Students have been introduced to this just a little bit, but it will really take off in January as far as completion of their ILP plans, which is a graduation requirement. And then this is another continuation of the JAG program, our second year of it. Had a little difficulty at first getting the right staff in place. We had somebody leave us, but now we were able to hire someone who actually came from vocational rehab at the state level, so good background to bring into that position.
Where are we at on that as long-term? Was it a short-term grant for the JAG coordinators, or does that continue forever?
No, as long as you meet the appropriate indicators and complete the process, no, that is renewed year in, year out.
Okay, and then we just supply the extra funding that's required?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Final goal area is graduation rate. What we are really invested in, you've heard me talk about this several times, is the BAR program. That focuses on ninth graders, because that's the point at which you keep them from falling off the track toward graduation and find out their connection to school and the supports that they need. Excited, as it mentions there, we'll be bringing this down to middle school next year, fall of 24. I mentioned Amy Oates, I'll mention her again because she was able to gain the Stronger Connections grant that I mentioned there, because I will say BAR is pricey, especially in the first couple of years of implementation, all the training that it takes, but we've got that accounted for thanks to that grant. Yeah. So just thank you. I can rewind to any slides or individual questions you may have. What I plan to do in January is not only will, particularly on those achievement gaps, I want to show you some things. I'll show you the breakdown, some of the questions that you talked about, like how are those goals set, and then also, we're in the midst of our mid-year IREV and MBPA cert. Yeah, it'll happen just before we have that meeting, so I'll have all that mid-year progress data for you as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mike?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asher.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so opportunity for public comment. We have one tonight, Joel Huber.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope to be quick. We made a presentation for Lifeline Academy at our last board meeting, and our ask at the conclusion of that was for acknowledgement of the proposed launch plan we've got. And just want to follow up with that and see where we're at. And we've got a lot of things going on with the school, and I'm just concerned that we haven't set a target that this will be left behind, so I want to see that happen. So I guess it's just a question of where we're at, if there's any information that you need from me or LifeWise Academy folks, and we'd like to go ahead and get started as soon as we can.
Because we don't respond.
Yeah, I can explain that. I said at the public comment portion of the board meetings, the board doesn't respond, but of course you're free to reach out. I think the contact information for all the board members is listed online, and for the superintendent as well.
Just to clarify, for curriculum items, would that be something he would contact the superintendent? And if it's not something the board members have purview over?
I'll be glad to look into that and give you a written answer.
Okay, that would be great, because that way you'll know what direction we need to email for. Thank you.
That's right, there's no issues from the board with the Wi-Fi program. I'm understanding that.
I don't have any questions.
No issues either. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to say that the reason that I will not be voting to approve the consent agenda is that because the treasurer's report and the financial reports have been placed in the consent agenda with no opportunity for discussion, I have to vote no.
Okay, at this time, if there's no other discussion, we'll take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the motion fails 2-2. Ms. McHale will reach out to us. We will have to have a quick special in the next week or so to approve those items on the consent agenda. Moving on to the regular agenda, is there a motion to accept notification of personnel matters?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mr. Brickler and a second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion?
I do have some discussion. I'm not sure if it was this item or not. Let me pull it up. We had an attachment, an additional attachment this month.
With the easement?
No, it's a document I think Ms. McHale had been working on with administration, just as far as, sorry, I'm gonna have to make it larger. I can't read it on my computer, it's too tiny. Let's see. So it's a document that is basically showing numbers, staff numbers. And so I had a couple of questions about it, and I do want us to have like further discussion. So basically, when I asked for this a year and a half ago, what I was wanting was an idea as a board member of what positions we've added, what specific positions we've added in different locations. So they broke it down like district-wide, central office, and then all the schools and community ed last. And so I think that's great information, but specifically what I'm interested in is knowing how our staffing levels compare from year to year. So I appreciate having 21, 22, and some for 23 currently, probably year to date, November. So I appreciate that information. But what I'm specifically looking for is our staff, what we're spending at central office from June of 2021 to June of 2022 to June of 2023, even maybe June of 2020, so that we can kind of look at the number of staff that we have increased and the effect on the budgets. So what I'd like to know, for instance, is central office, it says we had 12 employees in 2021. And then in 2022, it's still 12. 2023, it's 11. And so I guess my question is, like, I would like to see budget-wise. So maybe look at the superintendent's office. We added 0 people. Our budget this year, 2020, was this, $10,000. In 2021, it was $15,000. In 2022, it was $20,000. So I want to be able to look at that as far as the department budgets and the staff that have been added in each category. And I would like to know how that compares to districts that are comparable in size and numbers of schools. I want to be able to kind of see if we're, on track, on target, how it's changed from year to year, if that all kind of makes sense in a big picture kind of way, so that I can know personally where we are and as a board member, when these things come before us, have an idea of, oh, okay, we're good. We're at, this level. We've got this. Or if like we're way out of whack, it's gone up by several $100,000 and that sort of thing. So that's what I would be interested in seeing. And I'd also like just a breakdown of positions. So central office went from 12 to 11. I know we've added positions at central office. So I guess I would just like to see a list of those positions. I'm not sure how we could add staff there in multiple meetings and be down a person. So I'm feeling like, it would be interesting for me to see what those positions were or where they are on this chart in general. Because it specifically says number of personnel paid during a given month, not positions created. So that's kind of what I'm interested in, that data. Mr. Atkins, is that something you can provide to the board so that we can have a discussion about that?
This chart was created by working through with Ms. McHale. This is kind of what she feels like the board wants to see. So was printed straight from Munis, our Munis reports. Gary, are you here? Gary, you want to come up here? You sat in on this meeting. Could you explain possibly as to what the thinking was behind this? I know you have supplied with Ms. Springate several times with positions and those things. So in working with this and Ms. McHale, she felt like this is what the board wanted to see. Am I correct, Gary? I mean, you worked with her directly on this, correct?
Yeah, that was Ms. McHale a couple times, myself and Mr. Smith recently, and they're going to do this. It's called a key letter report, if I'm not mistaken, but it does draw out the number of, we took out subs, we took out coaches, we took out our student workers, so just broke down and classified certified staff. Those are individuals that are paid by location on those given months.
And I do appreciate that you all have met, and I appreciate this information. But again, what I'm looking at, what I would like to know, the information I'd like to be given would answer the specific questions of, for the past 4 years, what positions, what number of staff that we've had at central office, that for each elementary school, the middle school, the high school. What I'm interested in knowing is how we compare to districts our size. So similar districts our size, are we spending, several $100,000 more on central office staff than they are? Are we spending several $100,000 less at central office than they are? Do we have, we've added 20 positions, 30 positions. Where have they been added specifically? Which department? The budget went for staff at central office, per se, the superintendent's office, from this number this year, this number this year, this number this year, this number this year, just actuals, what was actually spent. That is what I'm kind of interested in. And again, I want to know that because as a board member, I think it's important that we know where we're adding positions, and how we do it in Woodford County recently under this administration has been very piecemeal. We might get a position added last month. We might get 3 next month. We might get 2 the month after. It just would be helpful to me to have some sort of an idea, some sort of big picture so that I can provide that oversight and know in my mind, oh gosh, wait a minute, there's a school district right across the road that literally has, 5 people in that department. We only have 1. We need 4 more, or we need to, figure out something. Or conversely, the school district right next door with a similar size, similar demographics, similar numbers might have 10 people at central office, whereas we might have 20. So I just want to be able to have an idea using data, not what people say to me or what I might think, but actual data of what those budgets look like, what positions have been added, and how that compares to districts that are similar in size, with number of schools, number of students, that sort of thing. So am I like clear on what I'm asking for? I don't know. I've asked for it a few times.
I think your request has changed every time you've asked for it. I've never heard you talk about a comparison from district to district. I have never heard you say that you want specific dollars. I think we have to be careful as individual board members giving direction to district staff. I mean, we all have.
Mr.
I'm speaking.
Atkins for that.
I'm speaking. we all have our portal that we can go back and see every single agenda with the note, with the minutes that say what positions we have approved, when we have approved them, the range of the salaries. We all have that. That all stays on our portal. I appreciate Mr. Wells and everyone working on this when you also have a job that you have to do, not just to work for the one board member. So I think it would be appreciative if you could make your request in writing, specifically what you want, instead of changing it every single month. You can give it to Mr. Wells and to Mr. Atkins, and they can get you that. But we cannot continue to change our request and poke holes in every report they try to give you.
And I would like to respond and say very clearly, anybody can do an open records request and see any communication that any of the board members sitting at this table has sent to the superintendent, and they would be able to read my requests that have been made in writing. They have been made in open meeting, and here is a message I can read to you right now. I basically want to compare our central office staff members / department budgets now with the last 3 years, parentheses, since Mr. Hawkins last year as a benchmark, and also wanted to know how districts our size compare with our staff members / department budgets. And again, this is something I have been saying over and over again at open meetings and in writing, so nothing has changed. I think the issue is that the superintendent simply does not wish to give this data. I'm not directing Mr. Wells to do anything. I'm asking the superintendent. He is the person I've emailed. He is the person I've spoke with. And again, I appreciate Mr. Wells' work on this, but I think it's vitally important for us as a district to know if we are placing our resources, which are limited, for classified staff, for certified staff, for central office staff, or in the classroom. It's important to me to place those dollars where I say my priorities are, which are with students in classrooms for our teachers. And so I would like to have this information. I'm not sure why Mr. Atkins doesn't wish to provide it or doesn't provide it. I appreciate that if you don't want to see the information, don't read it. Just hit delete on that email. Feel free. It will not hurt my feelings if you don't want to read the information. However, as a board member, I think every single open public meeting, we should be able to ask for information and get information. We should treat each other in a civil manner. And I think that if you don't want to read it again, just delete it. You don't have to read it. I feel like my responsibility is to be understanding, to be informed about finances. That does include the monthly financial report, the annual audit, and it includes information like this that I think is important. And I want to have that overview. I want to have that balcony perspective on where we're at and what we're doing so that I can contribute and do my job as a board member. And it really is all I have to say. I don't know if anyone else wants to speak.
We will provide information that the majority of the board wants to see.
And again, that is absolutely not saying that you'll provide this information, which you have continued to not provide month after month, meeting after meeting. I don't really know what to say other than I think it's important that we have this information. I've asked for it. I can't.
Okay, moving on. Is there any other discussion before we vote?
I think it would be helpful too to have that level of information. And I think it actually goes kind of hand in hand with what we've talked about with having a district roadmap. If we're going to have, all of these areas that are important in our district, like budget, like personnel, communication, academic achievement, I think this would fall in line with having a plan like that, something comprehensive. So I would second that.
Any other discussion?
The only thing I'll add is I think there's nothing wrong with having the information and the data, but we need to be really careful of what is the goal of having that data. And I think if that goal is to micromanage the running of the district, then that's where we get into trouble because that's not our job as a board. Our job is to support the administration to run the district and not necessarily to tell them exactly how to do every task, how to do staffing, how to handle personnel. We do approve those positions, but comparing to other districts, I think you also get into a little bit of trouble because every district has their own needs. I think that asking someone on our staff to do some type of research project to compare us to other districts in this manner can be tasking with someone that isn't necessarily needed, where again, I don't see a problem with having the data that Ms. Springgate's describing of what our budgets look like. I think we'll also have to take into account that we've given raises. So when you do a year-to-year look, obviously the salaries change, the costs change. So that's got to be factored in. So it's not going to be as easy as just saying, well, this year we did this year we did that. So I think we just need to be cautious of what the goal is with this data and how we use it if it's able to be presented. So that's all I'm going to add.
Okay, Ms. Cooper, we have a motion and a second, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the motion is, and the second was to accept the notification of personnel matters. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
I'm gonna vote nay, just because that was attached, and I'm not sure.
Ms. Cooper says that was information only.
That's just data numbers, there's nothing that go through.
Okay, so it would just be approving the first two items and not the third item
You're
that's attached?
accepting notification of personnel, you're not approving personnel.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave it as nay. I just don't wanna approve that third thing or.
Ms. McCown, I'm sorry, were you, I couldn't hear you.
She said aye.
Okay, you said aye? Okay, motion passes 3-1. Okay, is there a motion to accept notification of payment of bills?
So moved.
I will second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-1. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the November 20th, 2023 board meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Oh, I'm sorry. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-0. Is there a motion to approve the declaration of disposition? Is that right? Disposition by easement and waiver of appraisal requirement?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Brickler and a second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion? I know this was attached, the actual wording of the resolution should have been attached to our agendas. Any further discussion?
I just wonder, I know we had something about this on for a regular meeting last month that we couldn't do because it was supposed to have been on a finance core. So then we had a special meeting and we approved easements and so on. And so now here we are at a third meeting and it's on here, and then there'll be a fourth meeting after this meeting. So I guess I'm just confused as to what's going on and why we're doing all these special meetings when we're not, what we voted on last time isn't now, it's gonna be null and void, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So, after we sent the documents back for review to the attorneys, there's a reversionary clause that they requested that be added to the original contract. So that's what we're going to do in the special call meeting following this week. And so there was a survey requirement that is also, that would have to be performed for this gas line easement. But this waiver of the survey that is before you that you're asking about would allow us to bypass having to have that survey go through the gas line easement, as I understand it.
Mr. Morgan, did you want to add anything to that?
Sure. Yeah, I think I can address your question. So the two items you're addressing tonight, there's one that's going to be separate at the Finance Corporation meeting. The resolution that the board is addressing here is something that KDE asked for. So last time you all took a vote on the easement, that all still has to be submitted to KDE. KDE asked that either an appraisal be done or the district waive the appraisal requirement. And so that's why we're back, is that KDE had something that they asked be added to that package in order for KDE to approve it.
I think this is sort of a pattern in Woodford with this administration, where we have multiple meetings and we have to go back and approve and reapprove and add and things that we didn't know and now that we found out. So I guess in the future, I would just ask that Mr. Atkins, if there's any way that you could, when items are on the agenda, just to kind of maybe check with the attorney first or check with KDE first and then make sure that we have all the requirements. I know things pop up from time to time, but it's just really a pattern, so.
I think this specific issue, and the reason why we had to have a quick special a few weeks ago, is time was of the essence to get it submitted for KDE to look at it. So I think that was the issue why we had to have an extra meeting that was 5 minutes.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second, correct, Ms. Cooper? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-0. That takes us to the end of our regular agenda. There are no discussion items. The information items are written only. Any other business? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. You will stay quickly. We will call to order the meeting of the Finance Corp of Board of Directors at Woodford County High School. There are 2 items on the regular agenda. Item A, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the November 21st? Oh, I'm sorry.
Need to call attendance again, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't have roll call on here. Okay, I'm sorry. For roll call, we have 3 members present, 1 virtual and 1 absent. And there are 2 items on the regular agenda. Item A, can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the November 21st, 2023 School District Finance Corporation Board of Directors meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item B is to approve the revision and execution of Columbia Gas easement. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. McCowan, a second by Mr. Brickler. Any discussion?
I asked this at the last meeting, and you weren't here, so I'll just ask again. Ask Mr. Atkins, is this similar, the same agreement that we have with our other schools? Is this different?
If we have gas, it's similar.
Yeah, I believe the agreement template is what Columbia Gas is using requires. What's been added to this agreement that's different from last time is what's called a reversionary clause. So if the easement ever ceases to be used for this purpose, then that easement would go ahead and automatically revert to the district rather than having to do another agreement later. That's also something that KDE asked for, so.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Is there a motion to adjourn the Finance Board meeting?
So moved.
Second, or I'll second, I'm sorry. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Everyone.